It's 2026, and the Houston Rockets, despite being one of the top 8 teams in basketball and having a 35-21 record, still don't feel like a true title contender, at least in my opinion. And some of you probably read the title and probably were like, oh, you're overreacting, or you're clickbaiting, or whatever. But yeah, I feel like this Rockets team just isn't on that level yet when I watched them play. Obviously, there's the positives, which are the fact that Kevin Durant is on the roster, and obviously he's a great scorer, one of the greatest scorers of all time, and he's still impactful on that side of the floor. But to me, this team's fate was always going to be determined by the young core of this team, mainly the duo of Amen Thompson and Şengün. And with the loss of Fred VanVleet in the offseason due to injury, it was even more in their hands due to the fact that they lost a ball handler and a real guard option. And it's been impacting them heavily during the season because, in a lot of ways, they still have a lot of the same issues from last year, except you have KD on the roster to kind of take some pressure off. But when you watch them play versus an elite defensive unit, they struggle. I looked at their record versus the top 3 seeds in both conferences. They're 5-9. They haven't won a season series versus any of those teams. And they've split with the Eastern Conference teams. I mean, it's just, I don't know. When I watch them play, I just don't see it. I'm sorry. Statistically, the Rockets are a top 10 team in offensive rating. They're 21st in points per game, and I know a lot of people don't take points per game as like a huge indication of success or not anymore, as much as it used to be, I guess, because, we all learn that other stats mean more. And yeah, offensive rating, like I said, top 10, but I feel like a lot of it's built off A, they started off really hot, and B, they grab a bunch of offensive rebounds leading to second chance opportunities, which kind of gives you a boost in that department. But like I said, when you watch them try to execute in the half court versus real good defensive teams, it's still a struggle. It's still a real struggle for this team right now. And I feel like it all swings back to the play of their young duo of Şengün and Thompson. And obviously they're young, and there'll probably be some improvement in the future. But right now is the time, I guess you could say, right? I mean, you traded for Kevin Durant, which is kind of pushing your chips in, even though it wasn't for like a steep price. But when you get a guy like KD onto a team that was a playoff team last year, you kind of want to see them take a leap and try to take a swing for it. And this team doesn't feel like it's that much better than it was last year, to be honest. It really doesn't. Or at least the expectations of this team don't feel that much different. I still feel like they're a second round exit type of team. And, maybe they can find their way into a conference finals matchup with however that goes. But I feel like most likely it's a second round exit. And the offense just isn't high enough level. And like I said, going back to the duo of Şengün and Thompson, I don't think those guys are ready or are polished enough to be top offensive options on a championship team. Obviously, Amen Thompson's not a top 3 or top 3 scorer on this team. You got Kevin Durant and Şengün. I feel like those two guys are like obviously the top 2, and then there's like a tier below the rest of them. But Amen Thompson is one of the guys you took when you drafted him to be like a key guy, to be a guy that's like, hey, look, he's a puzzle piece, but there's some offensive upside. And there is. But he can't shoot the basketball. He can't. He still cannot shoot the basketball. Like, he's straight up a non threat. It's not like with Josh Hart as a Knicks fan, where, I mean, Josh Hart's shooting like 40% from 3 right now, but teams still don't respect him. But you know what? He has the trigger. He's going to shoot it sometimes. And there's games he's going to be hot. Amen Thompson, there is no chance in hell that he is attempting any volume of 3 pointers for real. There's no chance. The man can't shoot the basketball. They throw their centers on him and they roam. And sometimes he looks lost. Like, yeah, can he still get his way into 15 to 20 points, being in the dunker spot, grabbing some offensive rebounds and going back up because he is super athletic or getting downhill in transition, whatever? Yeah, he can do those things. But I'm talking about when it gets to the nitty gritty and you're facing the Oklahoma City Thunder and the game kind of slows down and the Thunder are on the half court set with you and y'all going 5-on-5 in the half court, can he really do anything impactful on the offensive end? I don't know. Besides playmaking, or being maybe more of a screen setter, which would probably be nice. I don't know. I just don't see it right now with him yet offensively. Obviously, he's one of the best defensive players in the NBA and he's still super young. And I'm not saying he can't get better, but I'm talking about right now this season. There's some flaws in his game that can cost his team a real chance to do anything. As for Şengün, it's like the opposite. He's got offensive talent, but defensively, especially for your five man, it can get really shaky. And with no Steven Adams being there, and it's now in the hands of Clint Capella to kind of be like that backup five, and sometimes I guess him and Capella can share the floor as the four and the five. I don't know, man. It just doesn't feel good enough defensively from him. And then offensively for Şengün, I don't think he's high enough of an offensive talent yet to make up for those defensive issues. Yeah, he's got talent. Yeah, he can pass. He can hit jumpers. He can post up. He's strong, whatever. But I don't feel like he's a high enough level offensive player. Not yet. I'm just not seeing it. Like, I think he's really good, but he's not on the level of like, well, obviously he's not Jokic. We're not even close. But like, for example, we'll even take a player from back then, which kind of sounds crazy back then, but he's not even on the level of like a DeMarcus Cousins offensively. He's not. So you got that problem right now, kind of, or at least for this season. We're talking about right now, not in the long term. Like in the long term, these guys still have bright futures, but right now, there's some issues with these guys that are kind of holding this team back. And then KD, look, KD also has some fault because he can be turnover prone at times, and this team can be turnover prone at times, and it can get really ugly watching this team. He's not a high level playmaker. At least right now, at this point in his career, he isn't a high level playmaker. Yeah, he can score the basketball in a multitude of ways. He's still super efficient in those type of things, but without a guard, the ball's going to be in his hands sometimes, and he's going to have to make some plays, and I don't feel like he's super consistent at doing that at this point. Overall, they don't have the makings of like a good offensive team. That's pretty much my point. Despite being ranked in the top 10 in offensive rating, and despite being one of the best defensive teams in the NBA, I still feel like they need some guard play. And to be honest, even having Fred VanVleet right now would have been huge. But like I'm still pretty iffy on this Rockets team championship ceiling. Even if he was healthy, I'd be a little iffy on it because Fred VanVleet's good, but he's still like inefficient. He's a small guard. There's those things with him. I think in the offseason you have to look at it like this. Either we could try this again with Fred VanVleet healthy and see what happens, which I think is probably what will happen next season. Or maybe somebody comes available at the guard position and you take that swing and you're like, you know what, let's just get somebody that can do their job, be efficient and be ready to shoot when they need to and take the right shots and be a good ball handler for this team and just get guys into offense quicker and do those sorts of things. Or the last option is maybe Amen Thompson takes a leap or Şengün takes a leap and they really level up offensively to being like real engine caliber players with Kevin Durant, and this team really takes like a big leap next season. But yeah, the Rockets still feel pretty much the same as last year. It's just they don't have Jalen Green on the roster anymore or Dylan Brooks. They have Kevin Durant. But this team still feels like a team that's good, but might not be good enough to really compete with Oklahoma City or San Antonio right now in the Western Conference. Anyways, that's going to do it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This has been a checkup, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.